Hey, how you guys doing? All right, let's do this thing. Okay. We're gonna go over a Grandmaster Simon Williams game. It's an older game, about 20 years ago. It involves French defense, advanced variation. Let me get a sip of juice and then we'll get going. All right. D4, E6, E4, D5, and then C5. Now this is the advanced variation. Usually what happens is C3 happens. Knight C6, Knight F3. Bishop D2 is usually the main line. There's also the old main line, which is Queen B6. And then there's potentially A3 at that point. Knight E2, B4 takes, pawn takes, and then in here, and now the bishop comes to this diagonal. There's that line, and that used to be that's the new line. This used to be the old line. And then the knight would take and pawn takes, and so you've wrecked the king side. You have these fractured pawns. This is what white wants to do, is to hold the center. That's white's goal. But at the right time, we're going to attack along the f6 and play f6. So bishop here, usually like bishop here, castles, and then f6 usually gets played. Knight here, pawn takes. If knight takes, then knight takes, pawn takes, and so white gets saddled with these horrible pawns. And then what we'll do is play bishop here, and then try to, if we can, reroute our bishop via something like this. And if he trades, we'll trade, and then we have the open file. We potentially, probably, rather than that, would want to take there. So he really can't. He can't really play this. So he would actually have to take. Bishop takes, then knight there, and now we have our rook idea. Or potentially we could, after bishop d, he has maybe queen there, here, and rook slides over and getting ready to break at the right moment. We play bishop here and then in, and see if we can't get some attack going. Yeah, so you gotta always be on guard for that. So knight there, bishop d7 is kind of the newer main line. E2, this is actually the best line. He says if you play this is more of a gambit style. At this point, I believe you take, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. And then he takes with the pawn, then you play knight e2, knight e7. Okay, so queen here, a3, and then you've picked up a pawn here. You got to be careful though that see, this actually does win a pawn now because of this. Yeah, and there's no castle, so if the bishop wasn't here, this bishop would have been able to do a discovery and pick up the queen. But now that that's not there, that doesn't happen. And a lot of players will play a3 because they'll try to get a4 in. I mean b4 in, and that's mainly the play that they'll want to do. So sometimes they'll just do this and then castle. They don't want to trade off their knight. And what you can do then is you don't have to trade off the knight. You can just play here and come in with your knight to double attack here. And if bishop there, now you have to trade. Queen takes and then drop your queen back. And so that it's just now that you can actually they could bring a rook over if they wanted to. Then you'd have to drop it all the way back. Knight would come in. And at this point, you probably want to fianchetto to get your bishop and then start attacking there. And then potentially you have knight there. You stop h4. So you have a pretty good attack. B4 is mainly playable here. Then you go there, and potentially maybe he try to double up rooks with castle. He doubles up, and then now we have bishop here. If he plays there, we're kind of like, you do have a potential fork here, so that if takes, you can actually take here, here, and knight takes. So you have these fractured. And if he moves his bishop back, you could take, rook, and after knight takes, rook takes, and he does. It's about an equal position. We are up one pawn, so that's why he usually doesn't play bishop d4. He plays bishop e2, which is it's a pretty fun line to go down. F6 at this moment, because when bishop e2 happens, there's a queen. See, if we do it too soon, let's say we play a3 here, right, and then we play this, you do have a potential problem with knight h3 with a queen coming in via here. So knight takes, and then oops, not there, that was a mouse click on my part here, and then now he's got that, and he can pick up a piece. So you got it, but when the bishop intercepted, oops, right, when the bishop went e2, and now we can play that, because if he tries this, the only piece he has is a bishop. So like if we let's say play here, then he tries this, we have g3, and if knight takes, well, you got to still be careful here, because knight takes would cause a problem. So you wouldn't, after this, after he plays here, you wouldn't want to, you'd probably just take, and then you'd have to move. And this would be what would be playable, and then knight comes in, pawn takes, and now, so you have to make sure that your move sequences are good. You have a double attack here, so potentially that might actually have been a better thing now that I think about it, because you're going after, and then if he takes here, now you play there, and then if knight there, it's check. So you can't really do anything there. You'd have to play queen here and try to challenge the queen. So it'd be an interesting move. Pawn takes. Now we straddled him with a weak pawn here. We have a passed one. Excuse me. Knight f3, knight e2. So we're going after this pawn. Check there. Queen up. And he doesn't want to trade. He wants to come around here via castles. And at this point, I'm going to say that black and white slightly better, not slightly, but a little better, not much. Because white has the ability to basically bring a rook. If he wanted to, white could bring a rook over here and start trying to hack down on that pawn. G3 is playable too, to hold on. Knight takes, but see, at this point, this picks up a pawn, by the way. It's kind of a, you got to be careful with this little trick here. So potentially best would have been rook back. I know that looks funny, but then you can't play this move here. Well, I guess you could, and you have whipped off all the pawns, but you only have 2 pawns for the piece, and I don't know if that's, so the queen would actually, because you have to be careful, if that happened you can actually grab the queen. My bad. So right now, he even if that was to happen, he can't really take. So you picked up a pawn in that line. And the more trades that come off, because he could take here, and king takes. And you have two, a bishop and a knight for a rook. And then you have this passed d pawn, so that's pretty much a close to a win in some lines. Oops, not there. Like if you tried that, you can. There's a couple ways to handle it. You could play this way. I kind of like more like that because then you get an outpost, and you also then can dominate the open file. This bishop does a really good job of covering g7, so I like that. So now it's equal material because he has 6 pawns for 6 pawns because he has 5. See, if he would have just taken rather than taking the pawn, he would have only had 5 for 6. He wouldn't have had an equal exchange. But when he takes here, then we come there and he takes. Now he's got equal pawns. But you have to remember, it's the quality of the pieces that matters, not the pawn count. And as far as I'm concerned, a bishop and a knight actually will dominate a rook with proper coordination. He's got to be careful that a rook doesn't land right there, and there's nothing to protect it, because that's a pain in the drain. But even at that point, you still have a problem here. So rook a6. Now that we provoked a weakness, we have the ability to infiltrate into c3. He doesn't want to do this because that creates a passed pawn. And then we have a bishop here that guards that. And now you'll get to see the power. See, we have 2 minor pieces, yes, versus a major, but we have 2 pieces. So this bishop can lock down these pawns, and this knight could come in and tickle this rook. So that's why he didn't trade, if you're wondering. Pontes takes. King comes up. G4. Check. And really, there's no way now to. It's close to almost losing. I'm trying to see what would be the best move for white here. I really don't see any best moves. He's basically in Zook Swamp. He can't check because that's covered. He doesn't want to take here, and if he takes here, he loses a piece. His king's dominated because here, and there. So if he pushes the pawn, we just push. Oh, I don't think we would want to push. I think we'd probably just move our king up, or maybe king over. Probably king. Well, no, we don't want to do that. We probably at that we'd have to be careful here. Oh, he's got a fork. That's what the problem is. And so you'd have to actually come down here. Oh, he's got a mate. Oh, that's subtle there. That's nice. This puts him in Zook Swamp. And he can't do that because he loses a wow. He can't move this because if he does, he gets mated. So this is really the only move that he can play. And once we check there, he has to move away, and then we win a rook. And if he plays here, now we win the rook. So that was a sweet move. We'll check to see if I have any games that we can go over real quick. This will give everybody a little more time to get on. I'll see if I have any. This is a pretty interesting one. Let's see if we can get one that's 33 moves. That looks good. I'm white. We'll look at the London system while I'm waiting. D4, E5, D takes E5, D6, E takes, and then knight C3, knight F3. And then, yeah. If he wanted to, he could take there, then play here, but and then you come up and now you connect the rook, so he could have actually won a piece here, but not really, because there's a check there. So he'd have to move, and then I can just retreat that via there. And if he takes, I take. If he tries to double, then really not much my opponent could do, because I could just play rook here and then challenge the queen. Once the queen moves, rook comes off the board, queen takes, and then I play there. And if the queen takes, knight takes, he'd have to come out this way to get his rook involved, then I grab a pawn, so he blundered with that move. And it was kind of interesting. This move won a pawn, and I liked how this was played out, because then I win a fork here. I could play that, and then he plays there, and then potentially have a move like this, and then trade down. Then I got a fork on these two pawns, and if he tries to win, I can actually play via there. And if he plays here, I can come back. If he tries that, then I come here. I'm kicking the bishop out. Bishop can't really go anywhere but back, and I'm pretty much winning. This is a really nice idea. This, if he does say plays like this, you have a smother mate idea here, because if he comes here, he could potentially come via this way, but if he does, then you're basically going to mate him with I believe, let me see, is that about right? I think this is it, or is this it? Okay, so it is mate 4. Okay, if he comes here, that's checkmate, so he can't do that. So he has to actually, after this, go here. it's this here. This is the cool idea right here. And then when you play, you can either do either one of them, and then when that happens, you get a smother mate. And I spotted the smother mate idea. You even win back the queen. So that's why I played there. This still wins with a smother mate. I'm thinking that I still could have potentially won with smother here. I'm thinking I could have still, yeah. I missed, I don't know why I didn't think that it would be playable, but it still is a playable idea here. Smother mate. I kind of missed that. I think it was I was getting low on time. And he resigned at this point because the only move really he can do, he could come down here if he wanted to, but that doesn't actually really do anything for him, because all I have to do is bring my king up, and I think I'm close to one move away from checkmate if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he'd have to sacrifice his and then come via this way, and then I'd come here and I'd come there. I believe that's still almost. Now that's mate. It's a pretty good game. I think it was cool. We'll do some tactics now. The king is really exposed to the world, so I'm trying to see if rook takes knight doesn't do anything. Let's see if rook takes c6, check. Queen takes c6. Queen takes e5, check. Only move to play is king g6. Bishop b1. Queen, king h6, and queen g7, check. I guess he could go, let's see. He could try, instead of king h6, king, no, he can't. He only has h6, that's right. Because the queen guards h5, so he only has h6, king h6. Oops, what am I doing? King h6. Queen g7, check. King h5. And I think g4, check. King h4, bishop f6, check. King I think we're close to mate. King h3, and then queen to h6, I believe, is mate. And we'll work it all the way out. We worked it all the way out. Yeah, then bishop here. King only has, if he goes h6, oh, queen f4, okay. I was looking at this here. King h5, g4, king there, bishop here. Oh, so queen would take. So queen h7. That's, so we have to stay with our attack here. Queen intercepts, only move, sorry. There we go. And that's the mate. But the line that they were talking about was after this, the queen would intercept here, and then queen to f, queen f6, king h5. And you don't really want to go for trading of the queens, even though it's tempting to. h6, queen f4, king h7, queen h4, king, if king g6, then it's 7 moves, and you just come here and then you start working working. And if it comes there, it's mate in 1. So, alrighty, that was fun. There's what I'm looking at right now is bishop takes b2, check, king takes b2, c3, check, and we got him. Let's go for it. Let's make sure that I have this right. Let's see, c3, king b3. Well, king b, that would be interesting. Let me see. c3, king b3, rook rook f, b, f, b8, check, knight takes b8, rook takes b8. The queen would have to intercept, and then we actually checkmate. So oh, okay. So that's the mate. Ah, king c4. Okay. Okay, so I gotta be on lookout for that. So this right here, here. Now it works. Okay, we're so close there. We'll get it back, don't worry. See, rook rook takes h7, rook takes h7, rook takes h7. So let me write that down. Rook takes h7, check. Rook takes h7, rook takes h7, check. Only move is king g8. So let's take it from there. So after king g8, what can we play? Ooh, I have it. When I think of that, after king g8, we could actually play rook h8, check, king takes h8, and then queen f8 is mate. So let's do it to it. There we go, back in the fray again. I'm thinking potentially, let me see, bishop h7, that threatens mate. Then if bishop, we'll say f6 to guard, queen f or g8 check, king e7, queen takes g7, queen takes g7 check, king e6, Do you guys have any ideas? I think we win. Boy, we're so close to, I want to play F4, but then he's got E4. So, Bishop H7, Bishop F6, Queen E, King E7. Well, then we don't have any spot really to roam to. We're stuck at that point. Because the bishop guards G6, I mean G7, and the bishop clogs up that spot. The king comes up there. We don't have any place to check anymore. That would not be good. So I guess that's off the menu there. Do you have any idea, Erie? Or Morphe? Hey, how you doing? Well, doesn't our opponent have if we go bishop A2 though? I kind of did a quick look at that. Knight C5. Doesn't our opponent have knight C5? Because I'm trying to see if there isn't a mate somewhere in here with the bishop and queen. I'm trying to see if there's a rook left, maybe that we can do. We can put a rook left in play. Maybe a rover, rook D3, a rook D3, G3. The only problem is bishop covers f3. It's like it's a pain in the drain. This one's kind of a little tough because you have to set up enough reinforcements for an attack, and we really don't have that at the moment. Like I was thinking bishop g6, but then he's got queen f6. I mean bishop f6. So bishop g6 for us, bishop f6 for our opponent, and we're kind of not. We don't have anything after that. And bishop h6. He has bishop f6 again, and still nothing. It might be f4 because I was thinking if we play f4, let's say e4, oops, f4, e4, f5. Maybe we can play bishop g6, and then if bishop f6, we have f4, e4, e5, but I don't see anything, or f5. I don't really see much that we can do. Well, if he did, if he played this line right here, Erie, what would happen is we would actually win in that line because we can play bishop back to g6 check, and then he would come back to f8, and then queen f7 would be mate. So he can't move his king because we would just move our bishop right back. See, I believe his best move is actually after bishop h7 is bishop g6 f6 because that guards that whole rank with his queen. We have to figure out how do we break through though. Yeah. I've seen it in a lot of games. Players will move their king like that, and then all of a sudden it's mate in two. It's a mate in two after that, and it's not fun to have that happen. And then after we play bishop h7, bishop f6, we check, king goes to e7, but we don't have anything after that. It's like, what did we do? It's like, oh. So I'm trying to find maybe a different thing that we can do. Maybe rook d3, something like that. Rook d3, g3, something. Trying to see, do we have any sacrifice maneuvers? Potentially, maybe do we have rook d5, but I don't really see any idea behind rook d5, because if bishop takes d5, c takes d5, and then we have potentially, or maybe we can play bishop h7 right now, rook d5 after bishop f6. Bishop takes d5, pawn takes, then we check. We do have some sort of a perpetual, but is that what we're kind of going for? But boy, I'm trying to siphon a way through this thing, but looks like there's Do you have any other ideas that you're looking at? Queen f5. c4 or c5, knight takes c5, and that attacks the queen. I am so not sure on this one. I'm trying to see what the drawback would be. If we go rook d2, d3, knight c5 forks the queen and rook, but we can give a check. Bishop intercepts, rook comes over. Ugh. So are we working, we're doing this too hard? Let's see, queen f5, bishop f6. Just gonna give it a try. Okay, queen. That's kind of odd. I don't understand that. I understand that's mate. Oh, that's mate. Oh, snap. We had the right idea. So, bishop c6 is the only way. Drat, it was there. That is not fun. We were so close. Let's see if we play queen takes d5, if rook takes d5, rook takes d5, bishop takes d5, rook d1, bishop e6, so there's nothing there. But I gotta ask, what is the tactic for c3? See, these are based on a tactic idea, so it has to be like a tactic that we're looking for. Yeah, always. That's one thing that I have to talk to myself about when I'm doing these is, am I doing a tactic or am I just doing a kind of a move? Because the machine wants you to do like there are certain types of tactics, pins, DQer, not DQers, decoys. Sorry, that's funny. DQer, decoy, piece sacrifice, clearance, all these different types of setups, and it has to be involving like a tactic. Like I would so love to take the knight, but that doesn't give us anything really. Huh. But we're only, in theory, one pawn up, and he has an outside pass pawn that could be protected by a bishop, so we have to be mindful of that idea. I'm thinking it has to do with something that's maybe like queen e3 or e3 or queen c3, something like that, so that let's say like queen e3, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, rook takes d1, and then knight e1, knight e1, and it's protected by the queen. But the only problem with that line is he has knight to a4, so knight a4 does away with that. We lose protection. Well, I guess we could win the pawn in that line. Yeah. But is there anything more than that we can get? Anything more? Like, yes, we could trade off our two rooks for the queen, and we have a queen versus a three pieces, and we still have our knight. So I'm wondering if that's not winning. See, we have the queen in a pin against the rook. See, the queen's in a pin against the rook. If there would be some way that we can take advantage of that, then we're winning here. So we have to keep that in mind, that this rook is pinned. So if we could get our queen off somehow and still hold everything together, we are winning we're winning a queen for two rooks, and I believe in that line it's beneficial. Queen a1. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the correct move. There you go. I kind of missed that, but that's exactly it. Do you see how you have to always look for what is our threat? What can we do? We have a discovery here our rook now pins, and there's no way for our opponent to protect this rook. So we can win. See, the problem with c3 is that queen takes, and we trade down to a potential drawn position where he has enough material to potentially, we'd have to trade off a rook for one of those things, or maybe a knight for him, and he would have two bishops, which is enough for a draw. But if we look for a little bit more, something a little bit more, you'll find the moves sometimes. Just a little bit more. Oh, I have the win, I believe. Queen. Hold on, let me see. I was thinking queen takes queen takes f3. But does he have rook takes h4 at that point? Does he have rook takes h4? Yeah, I believe that's right. Yeah, let's go with it. Oh, his rook takes I'll show you after this. His rook takes our bishop, and we lose all of our attack. Let me see. Sorry about being quiet here. Okay, so queen takes h1, check, king f2. Do we want to win the rook? Is there anything that we can do that's potentially any better? Do we have anything that would be very pleasant for our position? See, queen g3, king f1. We don't have anything after that. Yeah, I'm gonna grab the rook. There's nothing that we have that we can use in that line. Let's see here. Let's see, bishop h2. Queen h2. Sorry. king f1. Trying to see the knockout here. How do we knock out our opponent? There has to be a KO somewhere here. Let's see, queen h4. What is the where's the KO here? Because we're so close to a KO, I know we are. We're almost there. We almost have this. There's mate. We just gotta find it. We have a rook, queen, and everything ready and willing to go. But how do we get the rook in? We first got to get our queen out. So see, queen h4, king f1. There is queen h2. If king f1, bishop g3, that would seal the. Well, yeah, that would seal his fate at that point. So this is the line I'm kind of looking at right now. Queen h2 check. If king f1. Bishop g3. Bishop g3. And basically it's all over at that point. If king h1, king f3, queen to g3 check, and that would actually be mate. So he's kind of forced into through h2. He's forced to f1, and then we set up a mating that. Yeah, I'm thinking that this is the move here. This is the only line that we have that would be mate. Now we can set up the knockout, but let's see if we go queen. Bishop g3. He's got bishop. Oh no, we can actually take it with our rook. Wow, nice. So our rook on e8 really handles any of the threats that could potentially arise. Even if the queen went to e1. Yeah, so bishop g3 is the knockout. There's no way. And you wanted to look at that one line. Okay, let's take a look. Why you're wondering why this is? He has that here. This actually. Oh, queen g1 is the reason. Okay. I thought it was the rook takes here, queen here, there, and queen g1, king d2, queen there. Is it a draw? King e1, queen g3, and we pick up a. Okay, so we actually pick up a rook in that line. King f1, and then we grab the rook. So we do potentially win a rook in that line. So if we played here and bishop took, then we actually have bishop g5 as mate because of here. I'm on here and there. So he that is a line that was potentially playable. But this is the best line here. We take king here. There is bishop g3 here and king here. Bishop f4. And you'd have to take here anyways. So it's like, just go for the knockout. Did I answer your question, Erie? Okay. Let's see. So if we try king g2, he has king to g4. So if we play g6, he can go king takes g6. I'm trying to see, do we have a win here though? We gotta be careful that he doesn't get opposition. Let's see, king h5, king h2, king g4, king g. So king h2, king g4, king g2, king takes f4, king f4. You got any ideas here? Yeah, you don't have any endgame ideas? None? This is the endgame. Do you have a line though that goes with g2 though? I see. You have to though. You got to work out what the consequences of each one of those moves are. Because you always have to figure, even if it's king g2 or king h2, he's got king to g4 in either line our opponent does. So we have to figure out, do we have enough on board because you have to, oh, he's going to try to move in and he'll take our f4 pawn. Do we have enough? So king g2, g4, so g4, we can't go f3 after g4. He controls g3. So you have to be careful that he doesn't pass the opposition to us, and we have to give way. This is a Capablanca endgame, and we have to figure out, we can draw this. We just have to find the right move sequence. Like maybe f5, king takes g5, f6, king takes f6, king g we have to figure, let's see, f5, king takes g5, f6, king takes f6. If king if king g2 at that point, king g2, if he goes king if he goes king g5, and then we go king g3, he'll go king to f5, we go king f3, and then he has f6. Then we have to potentially give way. I'm not sure if that's a draw or not. What do you think, Economy? What are you looking at? You kind of got a line that you're looking at? We can draw this. We just have to find the right move sequence, like f5, king takes g5, f6, king takes f6. Do we have we'll try king h2. I think that might be. Or let me see. Did I? No. So let's check here. Oh. Oh, wait a second. Distance opposition. Okay, so that's the way to draw. So it's distance opposition. Those are tough ones. We have to work on our end game here. But I was thinking, why doesn't he just take there? Oh, king g2. Ah, king f5 here, and then f3. There's no way to make any progress. King e3. King e6. King e4. King f5. King e3. King d5. King d3. And he can't reach these 2 points. He can't reach in here. We have to work on endgame. I knew there was a way to draw this. This was just a, and then if he takes, we take here, and then king g1. See, there's a, if you are on the opposite color of your opponent, he has the move. Your opponent has the move. And then if he plays here, you play king g2, and now your opponent has the move, and this is a drawn position. And if he comes over here, we go on the color, and if he plays here, we go g2. Because when he plays there, we come in here, and there's no way for him to make any progress but pushing. Then we come back, g5, g3, king g1. If he pushes here and there, so I have to keep that in mind. Those are pretty tough end games. You have to get down the sequence of the study. So then, okay. Be blessed, Erie. I'll see you tomorrow. Let's give that a shot. There we go. I was looking at that line. That's a great find there. Let's see here, another endgame position. Let's see, how do we is there any other way though? King e7, queen, bishop h. He has one spot to go to. King g4. He's got one spot to go to. Let's see here. Let's see, there. We may be able to see bishop h7 check, king g4, bishop e4, king takes, h4, bishop h1, king g4, let's say king g3, king e7, king f3, king takes e3, king takes e5, and it would be a draw, but I think don't we want more than a draw though? Do we want more than a draw? Well, we got a draw with bishop h7, but oh, so there was a, oops, there was a win. Let's see, we have bishop takes h2 check, king h1, queen h4, yep, let's go with it. Nope, huh. What am I missing? Oh, we pick up a knight? But don't we lose a knight though in that line? I thought we'd lose a knight in that line. Oh, h5 to, okay. Queen h4. I think the reason, yeah, I have to make sure that, sorry, this doesn't happen. Yeah, drat. I forgot that he'd come back there. That is a pain in the drain. That's fine. Do 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 do. Let's see if we have something here with c takes d6, bishop takes d6, queen d8 check, king b7, and then queen to b8 is mate. So c takes d6, king takes c7, queen d7 check, king b8, and then queen d8 is mate. So let's go with it. We have a mate. Rook. Rook h1 check, king g5, rook h5 check, king f4, rook takes f5 mate. There we go. Gotta find a way to fork the queen and still keep the knight. I got it. We could play knight to f6. We almost trapped the queen in that line. We almost have the queen trapped in that line. Knight f6. The queen really, it can go to, it can't go, well, it could go to g5. So queen g5 check, king runs. Ooh, knight d. Oh, it's knight d6. Knight d6. We're threatening to play knight f7 in that line. Knight f7. So knight d6, and we're threatening to play knight d7. That locks the king down, so the king can't move. So let's do knight d6 is the move I know for sure. Let's see if he plays queen f8. So queen f8. Queen f8. What do we do after queen f8? What do we do? What do we do? Oh boy. Oh, knight check. He moves over. Check. Oh, that's it. So There we go. King, knight d6, queen f8, rook a8 check. King comes up to let's say king e7. Rook takes f8. King takes f8. There we go. Huh. Ooh, I didn't think he had queen h5. Oh yeah, that does win, doesn't it? Yeah, good find there. That is a funny puzzle for sure. Oh, I think we win a bishop here. No, that's not our knight. I was thinking about. I must be getting tired a little bit. I was thinking about playing knight takes rook, but then I realized it was the white rook. That is funny. Well, okay. Let's pursue that line. Knight knight f d5. What if he plays bishop d2? Okay. Let's say he plays bishop g3. Let's say he plays bishop g3. Seems logical now. Knight takes f4. So let's see, knight takes f4, knight takes f4, bishop g5. Is that right, guys? Yep, let's go with it. There's only one check that does anything. There's two checks. There's queen d4 check, or queen f1 check. Queen f1 check is your best option. Queen f1 check, king, um, let me make sure. So king, queen f1 check, king a5, it's queen f1 check, king a5, queen a5, king b. But we don't have any more checks after that, though. We're kind of we don't have any more. Well, I guess. But do we want perpetual? Could there potentially be a win? I'm thinking there may be a win here. Let's try queen f1 check, king a5, queen a1 check, king b5, queen b2 check, queen oops, b2. What am I doing? b2 check. King you've seen it before? Are you going to, do you have the line? King c4, queen b4 check. Okay, I guess it doesn't work then. Let me see here. Then what's the start? What's the starting then? At least you can give us a hint on that, and then we can maybe work from there. Well, we're all in to learn, so it's all based on our on improving. So if I think he covers everything. If we do the pawn push, I think he could actually cover all of his maneuvers. So queen d3 check, king a5. Wow, that would be interesting. Huh. So so g5, let's say queen. Let's say queen h. Queen h8. He then has, if we open up the diagonal though, so what do you think? So you're thinking it's g5 now? this is a tricky one. Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Nice. Okay. We're probably going to call it on that. Do you have any questions? Before I log off. Let me see, is it time? I believe it is. Yep, perfect timing. Okay. Do you have any questions? I'll give you on this puzzle or anything that you want to try out. Any lines or anything before I log off. I'll give you guys a minute to put in anything if you want to try any lines out. Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay, I wanted to thank y'all for logging on and helping out. We're doing good, we're improving, and we just got to keep pushing forward and keep learning. Life is about treasuring your victories and learning from your losses. Remember that mistakes don't define you. It's how you handle the mistakes that define you as a player and as a person in the field that you have chosen. Remember, there are no limits. There are plateaus, and you must not stay there. You must go beyond the plateau. Knowing is not enough. You must apply, and willing is not enough. You must do. And I have a Chess Cruncher quote of the day. Every long journey begins with one small step. That's a quote from Yasser Seirawan. It was during the Showdown Championship of the Kings. He said that, and I wrote it down, and I wanted to share that with you. So it's not my quote, it's Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan's quote. He says, and I'll repeat it one more time, the quote of the day, or for the Chess Cruncher team. Every long journey begins with one small step. So you have to start off with one step. Every journey begins with that. And then the next step and the next step, and you'll be farther down the road you can think. You know what? And the hardest part in any, there's two of the hardest parts in a race. The first one is when you start. That's the hardest part. The second one is finishing. The middle isn't hard because you've already set a pace, but when you see that finish line and you have to blitz your running to get to the finish line, that's the hardest part. It's not midway. And the two hardest parts are at the opening and the end. So that's why we love middle games, because they're so tactical prone. But the end game is where games are won or lost in the upper level tournaments. Trust me, I've played in them and I've won a lot of them. It's based on that. Sometimes I have to. Some of those end game puzzles are really interesting. I got to work a little bit more on my end game. I do a little better over the board than sometimes on the PC. So I got to say that there's something about that. But I'm gonna work on Jeremy Silman's Endgame book, and I'll improve on Endgame. And I would probably, it's a little expensive of a book, but if you're wanting a really well laid out Endgame study system for Endgames, Jeremy Silman's Endgame course is two thumbs up. He takes you from the very beginning, and he even letters. He even gives it letters like um, 1,000 and under, 1,200, 1,400, and he breaks it down what you have to learn for each level of your improvement. If you how far you want to go and pursue in your chess rating profession. So, if you're interested in Endgame, Jeremy Silman's the book or the Endgame course. Jeremy Silman is what I would say would be a go-to for your Endgame. Trust me, I gotta tell you, I have the book, and I've went through it once already. I'm gonna go through it again. It's so worth your time to do that. But set up a board with that, and set up the positions, because there's something about seeing it on the board, because you're going to have to play. That's the arena you're playing in. If you were a gladiatorial warrior, you wouldn't fight out in the fields. You would train in the arena. So you have to train in the arena that you're going to be battling in. And since we're gladiatorial chess players on a 3D board with a flat board with 3D pieces, the wisest idea would be for you to set up your endgame puzzles on the territory that you're going to be using. So just some advice from your friend Chess Cruncher that helped me improve in my chess play. Well, do you know what we always do? We have to remember that the Lord is the one that gives us our strength, our mind, our thoughts, and everything. He's the one we should rely on. Always, when things come up and we think, you know what, man, I would like to do this. Sometimes that's not the best thing. There was I'll give you a quick little story. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but there was this one gentleman and that was training to be an astronaut. And what happened was he got passed over by somebody else, and I forgot which Apollo mission it was, but one of the Apollo missions, the rocket went up and it was like an O-ring problem, and it exploded, and it was really a tragic event. But at the time, that one astronaut wanted to go on that, and he got passed over, and he said, the Lord must not really care about me. But he watched as it went up with his parents, and it went up there, and then it went kablooey, and at that moment he realized that the Lord did care for him, and that would have been him in that spaceship, in that craft, and the Lord had a greater thing for him. And every time he went up, he got to go next time. Every time he went up after that, he always said a prayer, thanked the Lord for every trip that he made it, and every trip that he came back down to earth. And so, you know what? He said that one experience changed his life forever, that life is so precious, and that one breath at a time is very valuable, and that the Lord is the reason for everything. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. Because you know what are you going to leave behind for the next generation? And I'll leave you with that. As Wesley so says, through the Lord Jesus, as I say, God bless, and I'll see you guys next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and Lord willing, we'll get back. I'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll keep pursuing our chess tactics career and improving, having fun along the way. Great job. We're doing good. Keep moving forward, and always have fun at chess. Go Team Chess Cruncher. Hoorah. Be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow.